And so, my dear ones, welcome into Springing Forth today. I'm knowing that we're going forward now into a great springtime and we're ready to be sprung. I'm knowing we're ready, that energy within us, we are going to release and let it have its way by means of each one of us to produce great and wonderful good things. So we continue in this month that is dedicated and committed to understanding that we are truly and deeply rooted in divinity and that our origin is always in spirit. And that, when we remember that, is such a powerful thing to do. So today we're looking at the impersonal self. Last week we looked at the personal self. And today is really reminding us that we are a combination of that which is infinite and that which is finite. The finite and the infinite. And we are that combination of both. Last week was very much centered on the finite being the humanity of ourselves, the conscious awareness of ourselves as far as the world of the senses is concerned, being that exterior person, being a form, and in an exterior world of the senses and the marketplace and the comings and the goings and the toings and the froings of all of that. That's one beautiful part of us. And it's the smaller part of ourselves, but it is a very beautiful and wonderful essential part of ourselves. It's the egoic personality self. And so we learn that we identify ourselves as an egoic personality, and how we identify ourselves is very important. And we need to be identifying ourselves with our full infinite potential. Today we're looking at the infinite part of ourselves that is the soul of ourselves, the invisible aspect of ourselves, the energy of ourselves, the essence of ourselves, the truth of ourselves, the self that is the image and likeness of that which created us, the Creator. We are the image, we are the likeness of our Creator. And that's what we're looking at today. How can we identify with it in a way that absolutely is stunning, that is absolutely mind explosive in a way, that causes us to have a sense of ourselves in the same way that the divine has a sense of us. In the same way that the divine has a sense of us, we could have a sense of ourselves. To know ourselves to be these very potent and powerful points of light, points of energy, points of power in the whole of the oneness of it all. That's what we are, these divine pulses in the whole of that which is spirit, in the whole of that which is the infinite, continuous, everlasting, eternal expression of ourselves. And that's what we are. We are so much, very little of what we're experiencing in this plane is really, truly what we are. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny infinitesimal piece of it. So small, really, that when we come into our own as that infinite point of power, which each one of us is, that dissipates itself and disappears into the true essence of our being, the truth that sets us free from all the ties that bind us to this egoic personality, this human personality, this human experience that we're having on this plane, three-dimensional plane at that. It is so very, very tiny, small by comparison, and yet that is where all of our energy seems to go, and that's where all of our thinking seems to be, and our feeling is around this little, small experience that we're having on this planet now. So today the call is come higher, come higher, come higher, and to realize that each one of us is our most amazing unused resource that we have. We are our own best resource when it comes to knowing how to be in life and how life can be by means of each one of us. Now, here's the thing. The interior aspect of our being is always emitting impulses. The infinite aspect of our being is always emitting impulses within us. And the finite aspect of our being responds to those impulses. Now, the most important word there is respond. How we respond to those impulses. Those impulses, the subconscious or the deeper mind of us is always available to us in all of its knowledge. Total knowledge is within it. Total recall is within it. And that beautiful essential essence of ourselves is always endeavoring to, is in contact with us all the time, but endeavoring to awaken in us a response to it, a response to the impulse that is worthy of us experiencing the great good that a conscious response to it can bring. Everything is about response, response, response. We do nothing except respond to the infinite. We do nothing except respond to the subconscious mind. We do nothing except respond, 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 respond. We are responders. Now, how we respond makes all the difference in your life and in mine. How we respond. This body takes care of itself. I don't have to practice how to breathe. I don't have to keep telling my body, be sure and breathe. It does it itself. It's an automatic thing that happens. It comes from the power and the presence of that inner resource that you and I have. It takes care of business. And the inner mind will always educate us or endeavor to educate us, will question us, will caution us, will inform us, always with greater expression of life in mind, always with our good in mind, always with the desire that we should prosper, flourish, and thrive always. The thing is, are we responding to the cautions, to the information, to the education, to that guidance and that wisdom and that grace? How are we responding to it? Mostly, do we ignore it? That's the question. Do I mostly ignore that inner, wonderful, amazing champion of my life, subconscious mind, the true and eternal essence of me? That is what you and I are going to be dealing with this week. Do we respond to that? Now, we may say that, we're so habituated into this and that and the other that it's very hard just to suddenly wake up and do it. Because after all, it's taken me all this lifetime to get myself into this mess that I'm in now. It's going to take me a little bit of time to undo it. Not necessarily. Of course, if you think that, absolutely, that will take you a long time, and it'll take me too. I'm reminded of the story of the young 16-year-old who's on her way to the garage to find a wrench in her father's toolkit. When she gets the wrench out, she sees a grubby piece of paper, and she picks out the piece of paper, and she reads the piece of paper, and it says, "I'm 18 years of age. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a college dropout, and I cut myself. I am also now a felon. I have a criminal record for car theft. And in a month's time, I will add one more title to what I am. I will become a teen father." And then it says, "But I swear, I will be the father to my child that I never had." And that girl was then crying and saying to herself, "I don't know how he did it, but he did. He was an excellent father. He was a great husband, making his wife laugh all of the time. He never in all of her years missed a ball game," and the list goes on and on and on. Can you imagine that young man with all of that weight upon him to be able to say, "But I swear to God, I will be the father to that child I never had," and he did. That man had to change like that, and he did. See, there is something in us that will respond to that kind of decision. There's something in us that will respond to that kind of decision and back us up and be at our back and be that energy that moves through us to create that and cause that to happen. do we believe it? Here's the thing. Here's all you and I have to have in order to have the life we want to live. And I'm not talking about a life of stuff and things and so on and so forth. Anybody can have stuff and things, but that's not going to give us the wholeness and the completeness and the fullness that we wish to feel. Not at all. In fact, those kinds of things can leave us feeling so empty, it's just indescribable. But what is it that will bring through us the life that we want? And it is this. And in all of the studies of metaphysics and spirituality and psychology and all the rest of it, it has been clear that if we have an absolute mental clarity about the good that we desire, if we can see it clearly and agree with it wholeheartedly, if we have this absolute mental clarity coupled with a deep, profound emotional strength that backs it up, contained within a determination that is unshakable, and a focus that is sustained and maintained, with absolute faith in the creative process of life, no thing is barred from my experience. I can experience any great good thing that I so commit to. See, it's not enough to desire it. I have to commit to it. And the way I commit to it is through my absolute clarity of that which I desire, and my deep, profound strength of emotion that combines with it to form this incredible vortex of energy. And when I sustain it and maintain it in bound determination and consistency and persistence, it's going to happen. Nothing can stop it. Nothing can block it. Nothing. It must be so. So am I willing to understand this week that I am my own best resource for any good I so desire? And have I tapped into those resources that I have? Or do I keep still going out there, looking out there for these resources everywhere but where I'm going to find them at their best? How many times have we turned away from ourselves? How many times have we denied ourselves? How many times have we thought of ourselves in such a less than manner, pushed ourselves aside, closed ourselves down, because nobody else can do these things to us except ourselves. And nobody else can do a better job of doing it than we can. So this is a calling to rise up in that energy that's always springing up within us, those impulses that are non-stop from the deep truth of ourselves, that wants us to be free of all of the nonsense we've accumulated because of our profound focus on everything out there, outside of ourselves. Thinking and seeking the answers out there. Now, it may well be that once I have contacted myself, my own inner resource, that I will be sent out there and find what I need out there. But I must be my first responder to my own need. I must be able to go to the self of myself and be raised by the self of myself to open receptivity to the good that I desire. And then be in open receptivity to all of the help that I can get from any source, any quarter, however it comes. But I must help myself, tend to myself, take responsibility for myself. And behold the wonderful miracles that happened, like the little girl who bought the miracle for her brother. I have to move out of the echo. I'm told, do not come down the steps. It's hard to be told anything, isn't it? Anything. From the time we're knee-high, we don't want to be told, do we? And that is because there's an inner knower in us that wants to be the real knower in our lives, wants to be that which tells us in our lives. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's an instinct within us that cautions us, guides us, protects us, guards us, informs us when we're listening. When we are listening. Question is, are we listening? So what is it going to be? Remember, in keeping with being absolutely clear and emotionally supportive of ourselves and bound and determined, what we have to do is keep that watch, keep that high watch on our conscious minds so that we are not plunged into doubt as usual. Into doubt as usual. Doubt. That which diminishes us and takes our energy away from us. Doubt, which leads to anxiety, which leads to fear, which leads to separation, which leads to fragmentation, which leads to all of the angst that we go through. I must be responsive to the truth within me and all of its good if I am to truly flourish and thrive. To be responsive to the truth within me and all of its good. And it's all of its good, not just a little bit of its good. It's all of its good that is made available to me now. By the miracle. By the miracle. The little girl who overhears her mother and father talking about him need a miracle to cure the little boy so that or to get the money together to get him his operation that he needs. She goes to her bank. Takes the money out of our savings bank, walks down to the chemist store, and I told you, reminded you, I'm reminding you the story again, gets the money and says, I want to buy a miracle for my brother, because this is the place where cures happen and so on. How many times are we going to fill up our saving box and not use it? Not use it. Buy the miracle. Buy the miracle. And the way we buy the miracle is to have trust in the creative power that is within us, the creative process of life. We're going to have classes this week again, beginning, and they're all about. There's nothing else to be about except the law of life and how to use it and how to best use it. The deepening has to occur if our lives are going to become richer and deeper in our experience of those lives. What are we doing to deepen the experience of our lives? What are we doing? Because to have a deep, rich, fulfilling life, I must be in close connection with my source. Now, in all of our connecting with this and that and the other, with all of our connecting gadgets, with all of those wonderful, wonderful, available items that help us to communicate better with each other and that feed us information. How much of the time are you and I connecting with our souls? In all of our connecting, how well do we connect with our souls? And what device do we need for that? Certainly not one that you have to buy. What device do you need in order to connect with your soul? I'm going to leave you with that question. I will leave you with that question. What is your excuse for not connecting with your soul? It may be the excuse is all those other gadgets that connect me to everything else is my excuse for not connecting with my soul. All I need is to be still and know. The question has been answered a long time ago. Be still and know God. Be still and know God where? Within yourself. And in knowing God within yourself, you can't but know God in everything and everyone. So it is a question of being still and knowing this amazing power within you and within me that is ours to set us free. Free of all of the angst and ailments that we have been responsive to. Remember, we are responders and we respond to everything. We respond in some way or another. We respond to everything. And how we respond to these impulses within us determines how the law of life is going to correspond to what we have responded to. So if I respond to something with fear, the law of life will correspond to that and create for me wonderful, awesome fear to experience. So whatever way I respond to the impulses of life, the law of life will correspond to it and magnify it. Magnify it. So again, I will say that the only thing that you and I need and have available to us always, without exception, no matter how we're feeling or messy life is the ability to be clear about what we want. We have the ability to emotionally support that clarity. And the way that is realized is through dogged determination, persistence, consistency, and holding on to what we have claimed, regardless of what the world is saying to us, regardless of there being not a shred of any sign of it being supported, regardless of everything going in the opposite direction. Nevertheless, I plant my feet firmly in my resolution, in my resolve, my determination, in my supportive feeling about this thing, this good thing that I become absolutely clear about, and I will not let it go. I will not give it up. I will not step down from my commitment to it, no matter what. Then the law proves itself through me with a most amazing demonstration of the good that I desire. That is how it is done. It is not done any other way. There is no other way to do it. And remember, when I make my mind up about myself, the world will agree with me. Once I've made my mind up about myself, who I am and what I am, the world will agree with me. And the way that shows up, it will exactly treat me the way I have described myself to myself. It will deal with me the way I have dealt with myself in my thinking and in my feeling and in my doing. It will agree with me. It must, because I am the authority in my own life, and I gain my authority through my consciousness, through the way I think, and through the way I feel. So if I want to change things in my life, I can absolutely do it. I can be like that 18-year-old young man who suddenly came out of his teens into manhood in a very profound and big way, and swearing to the God within himself, not knowing it was the God within himself. He was consistent, he was determined, he was focused, and he followed through. And the result was a beautiful, happy family and a wonderful, healthy young daughter, and all being well. If one of us can do it, all of us can do it. The question is, do you want to be the one that does it? Yes. Are you going to be the one that does it? Yes. Is this a day of days in your life and in mine? Yes. Is it? That means we've changed and changed for the better, and we have embraced and responded to the truth that wants our good. And so it is. Truth that sets us free. Change is good.